Welcome to Healthy Futures. Over the next few weeks, we'll be exploring topics about your brain, your health, and how substances like nicotine and cannabis can affect you. Here are the main topics we'll talk about today: parts of the brain and what they do, what nicotine is and how it impacts the developing brain, plus some of the risks involved with using nicotine. Now let's get into your brain a bit more. Right now, your brain is amazing and full of potential. It helps you figure out what activities you enjoy, build relationships, learn new skills, and become the person you want to be. When substances are used, this is where they end up: your brain. So, what is nicotine? Nicotine comes from the tobacco plant, and it's what's in e-cigarettes or vapes, cigarettes, cigars, and other tobacco products. A fun comment I hear a lot is, if it's from a plant, it can't be that bad, can it? Well, first, the nicotine found in vapes and cigarettes is highly, highly processed with a bunch of nasty chemicals added. A lot happens from crop to vape. And the truth is, nicotine is extremely addictive. People quickly become dependent on it, and it can seriously mess with your brain too. Nicotine changes the chemistry of your brain, leading to dependence, withdrawals, and more. Let's watch a video that talks more about this.
Life gets stressful. Finding ways to unwind can be so important. Reaching for a vape might seem like a quick fix, but vaping can actually make feelings of anxiety and depression worse. Vapes contain nicotine, a highly addictive drug that can change your brain chemistry. When you vape, nicotine attaches to neuron receptors in your brain, triggering the release of a chemical called dopamine. While it's normal for your brain to release dopamine when you've finished a task or eaten something delicious, using nicotine to boost dopamine levels can be dangerous. Each time you vape, nicotine tricks your brain into feeling rewarded. And the more you vape, the more nicotine receptors your brain creates. Over time, your body needs more and more nicotine to feel good. And when you can't get enough, you can experience withdrawal symptoms like anxiety, mood swings, and depression. If you want to take back control of your mental health by quitting, the Tomorrow Health app is free and proven to work. Learn more at chooseyouwa.org. Life gets stressful.
Right now, during your teen years and into your 20s, your brain is still growing and shaping, starting from the back of your brain to the prefrontal cortex, where decision-making, impulse control, and more takes place. Different parts of your brain work together all the time to help you do things, and when nicotine is introduced, it can mess with things. Generally, substances like nicotine can affect the brain in two main ways. First, they can overstimulate a part called the reward pathway, which makes you feel good. That's how nicotine makes people feel pleasure. Evolutionarily, this pathway was created to encourage us to do things that help us survive. When we do things like eat, our brain releases dopamine, which activates the reward pathway, telling us, do it again. Now, let's watch a video that shows how the brain reacts when someone uses a substance. In the video, it uses alcohol as an example, but the same things happen with nicotine. This video also introduces the topic of addiction, or substance use disorder.
What is addiction? It's also called a substance use disorder. Over 20 million people nationwide suffer from addiction. 1 in 7 people will experience addiction at some point in their life. Scientists first began to understand addiction as a brain disorder back in the 1950s. Doctors Olds and Milner, in laboratory studies of rats, found the parts of the brain affected by addiction. But then in 1994, Drs. Volkoff and Shelbert, top neuroscientists, ran PET scans of the brain that showed the effects of substance use disorders. And like other diseases, these scans showed it affected tissue function. So there are two main parts of the brain affected by drug use: the limbic system and the cortex. The limbic system, located deep within the brain, is responsible for our basic survival instincts. So when you do essential things to stay alive, like eat, drink, find shelter, build relationships, or care for your young, your brain reinforces behaviors that cause the release of dopamine from this region. That reward for surviving is also transmitted to the amygdala and hippocampus, which records a memory of that feeling, so we seek it again. This is our survival hardwiring. Addiction also affects this area, up here. That's the prefrontal cortex, which is what separates us from other animals. And this is where decision-making and impulse control live. When drugs or alcohol are used, they activate the very same dopamine process in the survival center. And when use is repeated, That substance can hijack that part of the brain. This hijacker changes the brain and weakens this system to make it believe that the primary need for survival is the drug. In hijacking the brain, it can usurp those primary motivations: food, water, shelter, relationships, and protecting our young. And the hijacker needs more and more of the substance to activate the same level of reward or feeling of pleasure, causing the brain tissue to become increasingly damaged with continued drug use. So why don't all people who use alcohol or drugs become addicted? There are factors that contribute to the development of a substance use disorder. They include individual factors like your genes, your age of exposure, and then environmental factors like drug availability. But there is good news. Addiction is preventable. Key factors that aid in preventing addiction can be categorized into two parts: risk factors and protective factors. Protective factors range from parental involvement, programs that improve self-control, limiting availability, and increasing attachment to your community.
It's worth repeating that nicotine is a highly addictive substance. The brain can get so hooked on nicotine that the user might lose control over their smoking habits. For example, someone who's addicted to nicotine might find it hard not to smoke or vape for a few hours, or even throughout the school day. Not long after vaping, the nicotine levels in the body drop quickly, which causes a craving that won't go away until more nicotine is consumed. This cycle is driven by the body's biological reaction to nicotine, and it's not really something the person can control. This cycle leads to substance use disorder, and this is when a person's substance use is continuous and begins to interfere with their daily life. So, when nicotine becomes more important than anything else. As a teen, you're at a higher risk for becoming dependent on nicotine, much more so than adults. This isn't because adults have any superpowers, it's because your brain as a teen is still growing. Introducing a substance like nicotine while your brain is still developing can not only mess with your progress, but it can also make your brain think it needs nicotine to survive. Even if logically we know that that's not necessarily true, nicotine convinces our biology otherwise. About 90% of adults who use nicotine started when they were teens. Studies show using any nicotine as a teen increases your chances of being a lifelong smoker or vapor. Wondering if you, a friend, or a loved one might be struggling with their nicotine use? There's plenty of signs. For example, if someone tries to quit vaping but just can't because it's too tough, or like we said earlier, if someone finds it really hard not to smoke or vape in places that they shouldn't, like bathrooms, those are signs that someone is likely struggling with nicotine dependence. To wrap things up, here's some resources and supports if you're looking for information or if you want help cutting back or quitting nicotine. At FHS, you can also talk to me, Sydney. I'm your school's student assistance professional. I offer confidential meetings where you can discuss your use, others' use, or get helpful information about substances and coping strategies. You can find me on Counselor's Corner in Canvas, or stop by the counseling office during lunch or passing time to say hi or set up a meeting.